SWB audio capture, not registered.
All right, Harshil, can you hear me? Okay, I cannot, so just give me 1 second. Nope. Okay, try saying something.
Can you hear me?
Nope, technical difficulties. Okay, try now. Try saying something now. Nope.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's fine.
Perfect.
All right, let's see. Let's wait for a few folks to join before we start with it. And also, I'll post on Instagram first.
Hmm.
Hello, hello. So, Harshil, obviously, you'll not be able to see the chat,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever questions come in, I'll just let you know.
Sounds good.
And go to YouTube. All right, I see some folks have joined, so let's actually get started because we'll have to also manage our time and then uh, join another meeting after an hour because this
SWB
thing
audio
gets
capture, not registered.
gone. Um, I think some of your friends have also joined. Bantai Bachi Bamai. All right. Well, thank you so much for everyone who has joined so far, and then hopefully we will probably build more audience in some time. But if you are watching this and if you feel like someone will also get benefited because of this conversation, we are going to have with Harshil. Please share it with your friends, family, and spread the word so that we can just spread this knowledge that Harshil is going to share with us with as many people as possible. And we will get started. So, welcome to Let's Talk. Today we have Harshil Shah with us. I was going to address you as Mr. Harshil Shah first, but based on how we are related and how much time we have spent together at Penn State, I think it'll be too formal. So let's just keep it as informal as possible, Harshil. So Harshil,
Absolutely.
Harshil and I actually met at Penn State when I was pursuing my master's in industrial engineering. Harshil was there for his master's in electrical engineering. And we actually lived in the same apartment complex as well to begin with and separated out after a year. I believe Herschel stayed there in the same apartment complex called Parkway Plaza when I moved out. But we had a lot of fun. We have a lot of stories that we can share about our times at Penn State. But today we are going to talk with Herschel about his academic and professional journey, how he started with a degree in electrical engineering, moved on to becoming a data scientist, and then slowly became a product manager, which he is right now. So I'll pass it on to Harshil to talk a little more about his background. So Harshil, if you can tell us what you do and what's your day to day look like?
SWB audio
Absolutely.
capture, not
Thanks for that
registered.
intro. First of all, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone from wherever you all are tuning in. Thanks, Abhinav, for giving me the opportunity to come in. He's one of the budding creators, and I love the creativity and the vlogs he comes up with. Uh, so my background, I'm from Mumbai. I did my bachelor's in electronics and telecommunication. Why did I
ETC.
do that? Well, it was the most budding thing back there in 2010. EXTC was on everyone's lips, and whoever asked for opinion, they're like, EXTC is the way to go. So I just jumped the bandwagon and I joined EXTC in my bachelor's. Moving forward 3 to 4 years in my third year and fourth year, that's when I started realizing what do I like in EXTC. and that honed into image processing, neural networks, signal processing.
Okay.
And that's where I decided that, okay, I want to know more about this. I just done one courses, so let me try and do more and learn more about it. That's when I started applying, decided to go for masters, applying for universities, and I did my masters at Penn State in
Okay.
electrical engineering
Okay.
with research concentration in pattern recognition and machine learning.
And what does your current role really entail then as a senior product manager at CIPIO? Like, what does your day to day look like for now?
So currently at CIPIO, what I do is I entail all the engineering work that is happening, the data science work that is happening, and try and merge that from the business side of things. Building an algorithm is great. That okay, I have my algorithm as a prediction of accuracy of 78%, recall of 90%. Wonderful. But if that algorithm is not provided to the business user in a normal way, to the normal Joe, where they can use it into their day-to-day lives to impact business and their objectives, the tasks that they do,
SWB
then it's
audio
useless.
capture,
So
not
that's where I come in,
registered.
where I try to bridge technology and data together and try and build a seamless, easy to use product where we can incorporate AI, machine learning, intelligence, and assist people in doing their day-to-day tasks.
And is it possible for you to share a little more about what CIPI really does and what business they
Absolutely.
are in? Okay.
Absolutely. So CIPIO is mainly around affecting the entire customer journey, the end consumer's journey. Our product is for it's a SaaS based product focused to B2C
Hmm.
or D2C. That is any organization who sells a product directly to a consumer or is who will purchase a product. Our product mainly helps affect the life cycle of a consumer around acquisition of consumers, growth, how to grow business of your consumers, business optimization, and retaining the consumers that you have.
Okay.
And what we are focused on currently is something which is very relevant in today's world is influencer marketing. So we help companies find relevant, reachable, and real influencers that can truly represent their brands and share why their brand is good to the audiences that they
Okay.
want to reach.
Maybe we should talk later about this, and maybe you
Mhm.
can help some companies reach out to this crazy influencer called Surabana Vlogs uh, that
Absolutely.
you're being
That is why I
featured
told
on.
you, you're one of the budding creators.
Perfect. I think you talked a little bit about your bachelor's degree in EXTC, or I've always called it ETC or
Mhm.
ENTC. You were from DJ Sangvi, correct?
Yes, that is
That's
correct.
I do not know if anyone in the people who have joined are
SWB
from DJ
audio
Sangvi, but I
capture,
have had a few
not
friends who have
registered.
come from DJ Sangvi to the United States for their masters. So my obvious question, I know you touched a little bit upon this. Why masters? I guess you were trying to explore a little more on the
Mhm.
things that you really liked during your times in ENTC. So can you please just elaborate on why did you even choose after a 4 year degree? Like, were you placed after your undergrad degree from DJ Sangvi, or you just decided that, hey, I do not really want to go for a placement. I'll directly jump onto the MS ship.
Got it. So as everyone, I did have a plan B. So I applied for a couple of companies, couple of placements. I got a job from TCS.
Okay.
So I had something at the back of my pocket, but I was pretty clear that I wanted to come abroad and I wanted to study more. And that's why it did not cross my mind twice that is it the right decision. I knew I wanted to go for a master's and not an MBA because I wanted to learn more about image processing and computer vision.
Oh, okay. So, but that interest developed during your ETC days, right? So, what really triggered that thing? Was it some course that you took during your undergrad degree which made you think about it, or it was just how things were evolving around you in the world that pushed you
So
towards it?
it was a combination of three courses in my third year and fourth year: image processing, neural networks, and DCA. It was compression related,
Okay.
digital compression analysis.
Okay.
So it really piqued my interest on how you can process different images, how you can build something that will give you a output. It can predict, it can be futuristic. That really piqued my interest, and I wanted to learn more about it.
Okay. So let's park it for now. We will talk about it a
SWB
little more
audio
because
capture, not
this entire
registered.
field is super interesting, and I am always very curious to learn a little more about. I know we have had conversations when you were working as a data scientist, but let's talk about that experience a little more later. So I
Mhm.
think this is something that I always bring up because people are in general interested to know. I'm pretty sure you are also like when you were applying for your colleges, you were looking for profiles of other students, your seniors who may have probably completed their masters on like what was their GRE like, what was their TOEFL like undergrad.
Mhm.
So this is just for me to show anyone who's watching if this is useful at all that Harshil got a 312 in GRE, 112 in TOEFL, and then you thanks for converting it. I did not know. I do not know if DJ Sangvi does 4 point.
I use the WES because that's
Okay.
what I had to apply to set
So
the colleges. So
so
that's why I did.
3.86 is actually quite crazy, right? I mean, this is
It is crazy. I did not believe it.
okay. And when you got this score, when you got 312, were you what was your
I was disappointed.
oh really?
I was disappointed. I was disappointed. Mainly because I know English I did well, 152. That was my peak. I never crossed that barrier. I used to play between 151, 153. But it really rubbed me the wrong way that I did so bad in math.
Oh,
So,
okay. So quant
yeah,
was something that you want.
Quantos.
And
Yeah.
were you did you at one point think that you want to reappear for it because you got 312? Basically, I'm asking, did you have a plan that, oh, I want to go for, let's say, MITs and Stanfords of the world, and I will probably need a better score. Did this score really affect you negatively in a way that you said, hey, I want to reappear and get this 312 to 321 or 340 maybe?
It affected me, say, for 2, 3 days. But then I took it like,
SWB audio capture,
I
not registered.
does it really make sense to give it again
Okay.
with everything happening? Because this was again during my fourth year, seventh semester, that I'd given it, and there was very
It's
little
already
time left,
late. Yeah.
and I was already late, and I like to be. I'm a little cautious, so I wanted to finish my application by November anyhow.
Okay. And I
There was
think you had
plenty of
a really good BE score anyway to back you up. So GRE, as I always think about it, GRE is sort of now become like an entrance test that you have to appear for. I mean, obviously getting a good score is good, but what really matters is how much relevant courses you have completed in your undergrad, and then if you have any research to back up what you really say in your statement of purpose. And this is a discussion that I have with a lot of students about like do not focus so much on the GRE score because with even with a moderate GRE score, you can probably get into good colleges.
I I completely agree because I think it was my statement of purpose that carried my profile ahead and helped me shine and get me the admits and even reach a final stage of one of the universities I got rejected also. So
Okay. Let's talk about that in the next one. So,
mhm.
university selection, you applied to looks like seven, three
Yeah.
acceptances and then four rejections. But what was in your mind when you were even deciding on these universities? I'd just like to understand what was your thought process. How did you come up with these seven universities that I'll apply for these seven? And then how did you really stack rank them based on what criteria?
Understood. So I wanted to do further in image processing computer vision. One thing that when I decided to do my master's and I started doing research, it easily was evident that these courses are mainly in the comp science department.
Okay.
Now, for me to transfer,
SWB
apply for a
audio
computer
capture,
science
not
master's, having an
registered.
electrical background would put me at a very, it would have very large odds. I would have very high odds to beat against, odds were against me. So what I did is I started researching on which universities have the electrical department and a computer science department as one.
Oh,
It's in the same school, and that's when I decided, and that's how I got these universities. That I will apply for the electrical course, but I'll be still able to take computer science courses. I'll be still able to do what I wanted to do without having the fear of I will have to ask for an approval. Will I be able to do these courses? Will I get stuck in electrical engineering? Because
Bec-
my main focus was image processing and computer vision.
okay. Because I guess the idea is that some universities have a separate computer science department where you will have to make sure that your credits that you are applying for or taking during a semester, they all balance out so that your electrical engineering requirements are also fulfilled. Why?
Exactly.
Okay. And so was this the only factor though, or because I'm just trying to understand why Penn State or why UC Irvine or why CMU? Why did you come up with these names and not others?
Understood. So Columbia was my dream.
Okay.
Columbia was my dream. I reached the interview stage and then I couldn't pass that.
Oh, there's an
So
interview for Columbia.
yeah,
Even after an admit, you have to go through an interview.
not an admit. Before getting an admit, if you come out, if your profile shines out of the few ones, then there's an interview, which was a 10-minute interview. We just spoke normally, and then I got a rejection. So it was basically at that point when I thought my GRE score wasn't good enough compared to the other candidates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was the question? Just very briefly, what was the conversation like? What were they trying to assess?
They were just asking about my background and
SWB
why
audio
Columbia.
capture
That's
not
that's about it. It's
registered.
And
two
just
simple
10
questions.
minutes,
10 minutes
and then you just get a rejection email saying,
in a couple of weeks.
"Wow, okay, cool. Go on. Sorry." So
Yeah.
Columbia was your dream.
CMU, I know their research and everything that they've done in image processing computer vision, we all know is cutting edge.
Yep.
Penn State, very renowned for research universities. In fact, I wasn't going to apply to Penn State till the last day. I actually had UPenn in my list, but before starting to apply, I decided that let me go through all the courses once, and I want to make sure that I enjoy the courses. And that's when I went through. I somehow liked Penn State courses more. So Penn State was my not in my top seven. So I wasn't going to apply. It was like a safety that if I do not like any of these, I'll apply to Penn State.
Okay.
And when I was looking at comparing the courses, UPenn and Penn State, I like Penn State's more. I called my counselor. He is like, "You're going to give away the opportunity for a IV." I'm like, "That's fine. That doesn't matter to me. Let me go for Penn State because I know I'll enjoy it if I'll go and get into it better and I'll get to do what I want to."
It,
So that's what made me choose Penn State.
it's so interesting that for you, Penn State was sort of a moderate, safe university versus I was going for Penn State as an ambitious application because for industrial engineering, it's like really
It's one of the best. It's one of the
right.
best.
And Yeah, it's just it. So you mentioned you called your counselor. Was it
Mhm.
your counselor who suggested these universities all in all? Like, did you take everything that they said? And also probably just help me understand how helpful was that process? Because this is more of a conversation that I want to gain from with where I can understand if actually having a counselor is helpful or doing your own research and due diligence is beneficial.
I think your due diligence and
SWB
own research
audio
speaks
capture
first because
not
if it wasn't
registered.
there, I wouldn't have had applied for Penn State. I wouldn't have had got into
This
Penn
would
State.
not have happened if
This
that's
wouldn't have had happened.
yeah.
So that primary, you always have to trust your own instinct and gut. However, a counselor, I felt it helped me really well in two places. One is from my statement of purpose. They really helped me come out with my idea that I wanted to bring about in
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And the second one is they helped me in clarity in terms of which colleges I want to apply and why.
Okay.
So those were the two reasons. They helped me. So I had a wider list. They helped me narrow down to this list. Like this is the list that you should focus on.
But you were doing your research on the side as well to make sure that the
Absolutely.
choice that you make eventually is the right one for you because
And
it's
yeah, and it's the one that I pick. I don't want to have regrets that I did it because of someone else.
yeah. Okay.
If I had done what I wanted to do, then it would have been different.
Is it possible for you to reveal who you chose as your counselor in Mumbai
Yeah.
or
So it was this company called College Pond. So
College
I was
Pond?
College Pond. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this is more you just go through the process of this is my interest, this is what I would like to do, so please
Mhm.
select a few universities
Yeah.
for me.
So one of the interesting thing that they did that I really liked is they helped me. They first asked me to make a quadrant and write something like subjects that you like and you scored well, subjects that you like but you did not score well, subjects that you did not like but you scored well, subjects that you did not like and you did not score well.
Okay.
That really helped me carve out on where my strong areas are.
This is like the counselor following the Gartner's magic quadrant technique
Exactly.
to understand where your interest lies. But that's amazing. I guess everyone should just have some sort of framework to get through this process of
Mhm.
selecting which universities they would want to go for. So
SWB audio
I
capture,
think
not
there
registered.
is a question from Prateek Mujumdar who's asking, and this is I'll just probably take a few questions in between while we are conversing.
Mhm.
Uh, Being from a diverse background, how you managed to be in the IT data science domain, how challengeable it is to be in this domain. So I do not know if you want to talk about it now versus we also have a section where we will focus completely on
I
just.
think we can take it then, so it will tie in more.
Okay, cool. So Pratik, we will answer that, but just give us like 5 minutes to get to that section. You spoke a little bit about why Penn State, so I'll probably go through this. But let's talk about what did you really focus on while you were at Penn State? What were some of your favorite courses, maybe? And then was there a specialization that you chose
Mhm.
during your
Absolutely.
time at Penn State?
So my most of my courses were, if I can remember well, is neural networks. Then there was computer image processing one, computer vision one, image processing two, computer vision two, random processes and probability, pattern recognition and machine learning.
Hmm. These
So
are
these
all
were
from electrical, or you were, since you said that you were in a mix of
so,
electrical.
so they were available. They were available as a joint course, like a CS course and electrical. So all my electrical credits were getting completed.
And how did you fare against everyone who already had a background in comp science then? Because that's like a, so I'm pursuing a master's in computer science right now, so I can feel the pain of when I go through these courses, how far behind I am versus people who already have a background. So I'd like to understand what was going on when you were taking these courses and you had a cohort of students who's also who already has a background in computer science.
I had to struggle a bit, and mainly around the concepts,
SWB
key
audio
concepts of
capture,
computer
not
comp science that I
registered.
did not have. That is around data structures
Oh, okay.
and writing efficient codes.
Okay. So, but you
I
built
could
it
write
over time.
codes in MATLAB. I could write codes in MATLAB, but it wasn't efficient.
Okay. So that's something that you picked up on later on and through these courses, maybe.
Not yet mastered. Still working on it. Still working on it. But yeah, those were the key challenges because I did not have the basics right. I had to do my basics on my own while I'm doing these courses. So
Yeah, I think it's so funny. Every time I talk to someone who's from a comp science background and I ask them, how difficult is it to even learn coding? Their answer is, hey, you can just learn it from Stack Overflow and whatnot, or take some sort of a MOOC course. Writing efficient code is what really matters. And like, if it gets the job done, I do not really care that much, but I guess that's a thing that you have to be really
so
efficient with it.
So it will really matter a lot even future in further depending on what kind of companies you want to go to. Do you want to go to a tech company where technology is their bread and butter? Then efficient code is the most important
Things
thing.
are at scale and whatnot. So,
Things at scale, you need to make sure that the processing happens in zero point 0.0 milliseconds, etc. However, if you want to go to a company whose business is different but they use technology to enable their business,
mhm.
the most efficient code they would be okay with whether things happen in 1 millisecond or in 1 second.
Okay. So, would you say like SaaS companies are sort of an example of that sort of a business where,
Now everyone is becoming a tech company. So efficient code is like I find like something like a Domino's is a tech company.
okay, yeah, I mean, their ordering system is quite complicated, so I
Yeah.
believe it. So whatever courses you mentioned, what would you really say you specialized in, or you just kept it
SWB
general
audio
electrical
capture,
engineering?
not
So I
registered.
specialize. So one thing that happened is when I came into my masters, my focus was only image processing, computer vision. But as part of doing being part of electrical engineering, meeting other people, understanding more, working with my professors, my area broadened to data in general,
Okay.
not image processing, computer vision, because that's just one form of data. It's a 2D signal. It's 2D data. It My focus broadened to unstructured data, all other parts of data. So the main things that I focused on as part of my masters is understanding algorithms and implementing algorithms from scratch. That was one of the things that I did. Like I implemented something by scratch, compared it against a standard package that is there, and see how am I doing.
Like in
But that really
performance
gave me the
wise.
confidence, performance wise, and even whether it's giving the result appropriate result.
Okay, interesting. So you were actually benchmarking whatever you did in your code against standard libraries that were available to
Yes,
see if you are able to achieve the same results, plus performance-wise, how do you fare against everything
exactly.
that's standardized? Epic. Let's move on. I know this because of our conversation, which is why obviously I'll go ahead and ask this, but what were you doing while you were at Penn State? Can you go talking about your working on campus experience? And since you were a TA, I'd like to just let the audience know how you carved out that journey and how did you actually get a teaching assistantship, because a lot of people make sure that when they arrive, they get some sort of assistantship that can help them pay for
Mhm.
apartment, tuition fee sometimes, and things like that.
Of course, 100%. So, in fact, that was one of the reasons why I did not go to George Mason. I straight away asked them because I know it's not highly
SWB
ranked
audio
in what I
capture,
wanted to do.
not
So, if I
registered.
would have had gotten a TA right off the bat, I would have had taken that. But they told me, no, we can't decide now. So, then I decided for Penn State. And at Penn State, initially, I couldn't get the TA because they had already made decisions by the time I came in fall.
Hmm.
So, I started off as a stage crew and at the BJC Center there
Bryce
in
Jordan.
Bryce Jordan Center at Penn State. And then I got a grading job, so I left that. I was a grader for my first semester,
Okay.
and then from the second semester onwards is when I got my TA ship,
So,
teaching assistant, where I was teaching a MATLAB course, teaching and assisting a MATLAB course in the comp science department.
so that's so fascinating, right? You were the one who was like, hey, I want to be with the com science people where there's a mix of com science and electrical engineering. And now you're teaching a MATLAB course to com science people.
Exactly.
And so your grader job, that was basically just making sure, like your professor is whatever tests the students appear for, you have to just
I
go
have to
through
just
them.
grade those homeworks and tests.
Okay. Anything interesting happened there, or like
There
any?
were interesting answers that I found. There were really interesting answers found. I could, by the end of that semester, I could recognize from the handwriting who's this person and what kind of answer have they written. Like there would be times where I would talk to my friends in my roommates where I'm like, this person he's going to get about 6 or 7 on 10 in this homework, and then
Wow.
I would start grading, and then it would be sometimes about that, sometimes I would be wrong, but it was
You
fun.
you started probably building an algorithm of your own in your mind over that time as well. So it clearly tells how interested you were in pattern recognition and machine learning and things like that. That there was
Absolutely.
something evolving. And how did you even get into the teaching assistantship zone then? What was that thing like?
So
SWB
I
audio
eagerly
capture,
wanted
not
to be part
registered.
of the course, be like anyone TA RA, so that I could get some tuition relief.
Hmm.
And as part of my first sem courses, my professors told me that my advisor told me who are the professors I could reach out, where are the best potential opportunities, looking at even my skill set.
Okay.
And that's why they're like, there is this good MATLAB course that someone teaches every semester. It's a large class of 300, 400 students, so they generally want a large number of TAs. Your MATLAB is good, you should apply for that and meet the professor.
Okay. So this is not you going through a course taught by the professor who you were going to work under, but this is more of
Yes.
an application process and many electrical engineering students must have applied for this, or
Exactly.
probably from any
Who comes
branch.
up?
And how much was the money involved? How much were you getting
So
paid?
I used to get $1,600 a month, and they used to cover my insurance.
What?
Yeah,
So they paid for your like the
health insurance.
last year maybe, right? Just 1 year.
The duration which I had TA.
Oh, that's so crazy because I did an RA, but I did not get my insurance covered or anything. I mean, even though it was a small amount, but still,
Mhm.
it's still an additional perk. Oh,
I think you should reach out to the professor again.
and get reimbursed for what you
Yeah,
didn't pay for. So, 1600 was enough in state college, I guess. Like it was a lot of
more than
money.
enough.
It was a lot of
More than
money.
enough. It was really good that I could take care of my own expenses and become independent.
Rutvik is basically saying on the chart feels like finding a mentor definitely helps. There's a question from, let's see, let's take a question here. Uh, Pratik, okay, this is something that we can
SWB
probably
audio
answer now
capture,
from
not
Pratik because
registered.
otherwise he'll be annoyed that these guys are not taking my questions. Could you please tell us what should we write in SOP? Also, how you relate your educational background in SOP while applying to any university in the US for data science, data analytics, business analytics. So I think it'll be good for you to just tell briefly what did you write in your SOP that made or helped the universities understand that you have interest in data
Mhm.
science.
I'm sure what I'm about to say, Abhinav, you're going to laugh. So my SOP, I try to relate it with what I wanted to do, the passion that I had. So my starting, everyone says your start has to be really good, and then everything will flow in slowly. So I was thinking on what to write, and those days that was about I think 2013, 12, 13, around those time, and Fruit Ninja was really great, where you would swipe. I would keep swiping and cutting fruits, and you would getting points. So that's when I'm like, what if I don't have to use my hands? I'm again lazy. With my eyeballs, when I'm moving around, I could aim at the fruit and it gets cut. And that's how I started. I told you you would laugh. So that's how I started. Like why I want like I took the example of this game, something that I relate to, something that I used to play, and I merged it with my passion. That imagine if I could use Fruit Ninja, I could develop a system where I don't need to use my hands. I could just hold my phone and looking at the fruits, I could swipe them,
Or maybe you can also say like cut the watermelon, whatever, right? I mean that
cut
is
the
another.
watermelon. Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess the takeaway is that you were trying to be creative, while also telling a little more about what you're passionate uh, about
Mhm.
and in
And
general.
it tried to bring about who I am too. Like, what do I do? I
Uh,
like playing games.
how do you bring the
SWB
flavor of
audio
data science
capture,
and data
not
analytics though?
registered.
Because electrical engineering, did you like
So
from
as
this?
part of my bachelor's, I did my final year project. We had to do a final year project. Was we built a face recognition system.
Okay,
So we built a multi-face recognition system using the very well-known Viola Jones algorithm,
okay,
where what we did is someone would come in, we would capture their faces for the first time, and we could mark that this is Abhinav. And then when Abhinav would come in again with other people, we could still recognize it
okay.
that Abhinav is there, and there's some unknown person if they are not already in the database.
Okay. So I think, Pratik, just to add to what Harshil just mentioned, if you have some project that can probably elaborate a little on why you're interested in a particular course that you're applying for, and then bring out your passion from there, I think that will help you in your SOP when you're writing it. So, from what Harshil said, he started off with Fruit Ninja, being very creative, and sharing a little more about how he looks at things in a particular way. He looks at things uh, like games like Fruit Ninja, that he will build something around it, maybe using like voice recognition or this eye tracking system, and get the game going. So I guess it's really important to somehow connect what you do in your day-to-day life or what you're interested in as a person with what you want to pursue at the university. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Harshil.
Yep. And it was again tying back, if I think about it now, it's again tying back to a product management where you can use technology to combine expertise and merge them together.
Ashish is asking, how is placement of a MS in electrical engineering, electrical, please? Is there anything that you would like to share?
Sorry, can you repeat?
How is the placement of
SWB audio
MS in
capture,
electrical?
not
If you
registered.
can share some stats around how many, what was the percentage of students from your batch who got?
Honestly, I do not know any stats as such, because it wasn't like, we are a classroom, we all are taking same courses. People used to take different classes. I had different people with me.
Mhm.
I do not know any such stats, but I knew whoever I knew, they got a job.
Oh, so everyone at
Like,
Penn State who was with you, they got a
who
job.
was with me in electrical, of the ones I knew, the 5 6 people that I knew, I was aware of, that I would work on a day-to-day basis. I know they all got a job.
And some may have probably stayed back for a PhD.
PhD. I was one of the ones who was considering a PhD.
Yeah, that would have been another interesting conversation.
Yep.
All right. So Mangesh is asking, hi Abhinav, I was waiting for this session, especially on product management from your vlogs. I learned that you moved from a non-tech background. I'm too interested in the PM, more in the non-tech pharma biotech. Currently planning to get PM experience in pharma industries and then transition to a tech role. What are some of the things that you would like to share relating to PM? What are some of the challenges that one would face? Perfect question, Mangesh, for this session. We actually have a section just for that. Before that, we will very quickly, since we are already at 36 minutes, we will very quickly talk through. Oh, wait, is my camera blurred? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll very quickly talk through what was your full-time search like? How did you justify coming from an electrical engineering background? Because I know your first role as a professional in the US was a data scientist.
Yeah.
So just very quickly, if you can tell us about what was that like? How did you talk to companies? How did you tell them that you are actually wanting to become a data scientist from an electrical engineering background?
Yep. So there were a combination of three things. Is from my bachelor's I knew MATLAB. As I came into Penn State, I
SWB
was
audio
mainly
capture,
working on
not
MATLAB, but I had to
registered.
broaden those skills.
Hmm.
And that's why, because Python and R, and Python more so, were something that was used in the industry. They were used on a day-to-day basis when you deploy something in production. So that's where I had to learn Python and R. I picked up those things. SQL, I would say, would be a must that everyone should know, irrespective of your job title, if you're in the tech role. And that is something I learned through MOOCs and doing online courses. One of the other couple of things that helped me indirectly is couple of my internships. So I got to do two internships of brief spans
Hmm.
in my summer. So one was working as a backend engineer, so a backend support system engineer, where I was working for this system called MotionSoft, who used to that gyms used to use for their daily use. And so whenever they would get tickets, I would get to solve those tickets, debug why did the issue happen, is there some problem. So that really helped me, and that got me a bit into SQL.
Okay.
And the second thing was I did a remote internship with a company called Digital MR, where I would do sentiment analysis. They would give me tweets, thousands, 2,000, 3,000 tweets, and I had to determine the sentiment, whether it was
Interesting.
positive or negative, and then I had to curate it amongst seven different emotions. What emotion did the tweet have? Confused, happy, sad, etc., which initially I was doing manually. And but because at that time I was learning Python, I could automate it. And by the end of the internship, I could give them an automated way to do it rather than manually going through 1,000 tweets and writing whether it was positive or negative on the emotion.
Okay, I was going to ask you what sort of, because I did a paper while I was at Penn State on sentiment analysis using tweets for iPhone, whatever iPhone launched back then. Probably it was six or something. Oh, how did you go about
SWB audio
labeling though? Like,
capture,
did you
not
have a training data
registered.
set which
It
was
was
like?
a manual label,
So you
manually,
manually labeled it, right? Okay,
manually
cool.
labeled.
I just wanted to know if whatever I did was wrong or there was a fancier way of doing this because I had to actually manually label it with my lab mates.
Oh,
before I
yes.
could create the training data set. So just interesting to hear that you were also probably involved in something very similar. Okay,
Mhm.
so you went in, you talked to the recruiters, you told them that these are your projects from your internship. You gained this much experience, and I think you mentioned, which I completely agree with, is SQL. I think
Mhm.
in my day-to-day job right now, even though I'm working as a program manager, I use SQL very heavily, and I tell everyone that I guess your backend support thing that you were talking about probably was playing around with logs on
Mhm.
any ticket.
Yeah.
And I think whenever logs come into picture, you have to have some sort of querying and data sorting sort of a thing.
And at the end of the day, data is going to lie in a database, structured format, unstructured format. You have to use SQL, even though you're a PM and you want to just find out data for your own analysis to do any presentations, or not, because that engineering team, tech team are so heavy, they cannot take in your request. Being self-sufficient really helps.
Okay. There's some audio issue people are saying with the audio not registering properly. Rutvik is saying, is it fine now? People able to hear us? If someone can just comment or in the chat and let us know if it is okay. I know. I also got a message from Mr. Manav Desai on WhatsApp saying there's some audio registration issue. He won't
That
comment
name,
here,
that
but he
name,
has to ping me on WhatsApp. What is this?
that name rings a bell.
Manav, if you're watching this,
SWB
Harshil is
audio
missing you.
capture, not
Oh, thank you,
registered.
Gaurang. Gaurang confirmed that he's able to hear. All right, so let's really
Just for
talk.
the audience, like Manav and Abhinav together got me out of the cricket team.
Oh, I forgot again. Sorry. Yeah. So I did a podcast with Harshil on civil engineering. Sorry. I did
Me.
a podcast with Meet. Oh my God. Okay. I do not know if I'll be able to get away with this, but I've always been confused about Harshil, between Harshil and Meet. So I did a podcast with Meet on civil engineering where I told he was in the cricket team. You reminded me.
Because again, you are against me.
I, See, if you have like Dhoni's and Sachin's of the team, why do you need Ramesh Pawar, right? So,
At the end of the day, it's Ramesh Pawar and Shardul Thakur that matter.
okay, you compared two very different players, but yeah, I'm sorry about it. If we have another spring cricket, summer cricket, whatever it was at Penn State at some point, I'm pretty sure Manav still thinks that he's the captain of the team there, and
Hmm.
he's very closely and emotionally attached to Penn State cricket. Cool. So let's talk about this thing, which I am really interested in talking about your transition. We have sort of touched upon this topic, electrical to data science to product management, throughout the conversation. But I think we can spend the next 5 to 7 minutes just understanding what was it like when you moved from electrical engineering grad school to a data scientist role? What was that experience like, and what was your first reaction and what were your first emotions when you joined as a data scientist? What were you doing? And how did your experience in electrical engineering Penn State help you do what you were doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is now when we can take Pratik's question also. I
Sure.
forgot what the question was.
SWB audio
So just to
capture,
give,
not registered.
as I started my first full-time job at Software Solutions, so it was a consulting company based out of Chicago, and then they moved to Texas. Later, now they've recently gotten acquired by Avnet.
Hmm.
So Software was building. I helped them build their machine learning platform and build machine learning capabilities in their IoT platform
Okay.
called IoT Connect. So one of the biggest things, I think, the eye openers for me is you do not have a nice data set available to do data science, like you can borrow one from UCI repository or Kaggle or any of those things.
Yeah.
Getting good quality data was one of the biggest challenges and eye openers for me. And I can guarantee and I can tell you is building a good algorithm is just last 20%. It's the last mile. But
Pre-processing is
the first thing is about making sure that the data is correct, the data is proper, understanding the domain is so important. And once you get all of those things, you'll be able to build a good machine learning model.
okay. And that's what you were doing at SoftWeb. And
That was what I was doing at software. Yep.
so Prateek's question was how challenging it is to be in this domain, being from a diverse background. And in this case, I guess he's referring to, or you can probably talk about electrical engineering, but I guess you already had moved into this domain through your grad school
Yep.
while you were in
So
LS.
the grad school was a good segue. I did not find any difficulties because my main focus concentration was around machine learning, pattern recognition, and I got myself acquainted to all kinds of feature engineering techniques,
Hmm.
the feature engineering pipeline, and the kind of models you have to use. And I also did a thesis which used unsupervised techniques using images. So I was pretty confident that I had a good hand on data science. But one thing again I would love to clarify for people is being a data scientist is very
SWV
different from being
audio
a machine
capture,
learning engineer.
not registered.
A machine learning engineer will build algorithms. They will build cutting edge new algorithms. A data scientist will use and apply algorithms that have already been there and apply to the data and get results and build KPIs that will be understandable to from the business needs, from the business aspects to the stakeholders. So a clear difference that many people get find it very hazy.
Hmm.
And as a data scientist, they call you a data scientist because you have to work with data. You cannot say that. Many a times I've come across this where people say that, okay, I'm a data scientist, I'm not going to do data cleaning, data engineering. Get me clean data, then I'll start working and I'll do my job. Totally wrong. By doing data cleaning, data transformation, you'll truly understand the kind of data set you're working with, what are the inherent characteristics of it, and how what kind of model you should build. Maybe a complex model is not required at all. Simple heuristics, fuzzy logic, and intelligence can help you get the result.
Yeah, so you do not always need some fancy algorithm to
Exactly.
go about it. And then, since you were a data scientist and since you mentioned this working with the business on KPIs, I'm guessing I mean, you eventually became a product manager now, but at that point, as a data scientist, you were working with product managers, I'm guessing. How
Yes,
was
I
how
was.
was how was that experience? Because I would want to know now, from a data scientist to a PM, what was the relation like when you were a data scientist, and what is it like when you are a PM who's probably again working with data scientists? How did things change for you?
So the PM's role is to help you get understanding of if they are doing something, if you're doing a particular task, or if you've given a particular data set, what is the problem that you're trying to solve firstly? Why is it a problem? And what you're going to do, how is it going to
SWV
impact?
audio
Hmm.
capture, not
That
registered.
those are going to be very crucial things to understand what kind of model you want to build, what kind of approach do you want to take.
Okay.
And so PM will help you define what's your objective, like what do you have to deliver. As a data scientist, your key aspect is to ask as many questions, get in front of the client, understand the data, speak to stakeholders, and get to know if they've done something similar, what were the challenges, because that will help you understand which attributes, what went wrong, what have they already tried and failed. You do not need to. Many times people go around do the same thing and then they're like, client will like, we already know this. Those are the things you need to ask as many questions as you can at the beginning.
Okay. As a product manager, you're saying, right?
As a data scientist as well, product managers responsibility is to make sure everything is as crystal clear that a data scientist doesn't need to ask those questions.
Okay.
Yeah, questions are answered.
So when you were a data scientist working with the product managers, do you think that some of the skills that you acquired as a data scientist and you transfer them over to your product manager role right now, are you using some of it today?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because many a times I get to challenge or I get to work and collaborate with a data scientist, data engineering team as well. From my experience, a technical background really helps me understand on when I'm defining a feature to truly imagine and foresee on how is it going to function, what is it truly going to take at the backend system for the model to run, for the model to generate predictions every day, for the model to get refreshed and get retrained, and for those results to seamlessly be applied on the front end in your fancy cool UI and the end user using. But the end user is not going to understand all the magic hard work grunt that the other people are putting in.
Yeah, totally. We can take Mangesh's question
SWB
now,
audio
which
capture,
is
not registered.
what are some of the things, insights that you would like to share relating to product management? What are some of the challenges that one would face?
Yep. As a product manager, one of the key things is you're going to work with a variety of people. You're going to work with your engineers who are going to build code. You're going to work with your leadership or your executive team who is going to define what kind of product do they want to build. You're going to work with the stakeholders, your end users who are going to use the product, and they are going to share their experience. So you, as a central focal point, are joining all of this. And so you need to be a very objective person to understand. For the first truly thing is, before building anything, is ensure that your product is solving a
Pro-
problem. People are willing to pay to use your product to solve that problem.
Okay, that's in case of a monetized product where you are,
Yes.
yeah,
In
okay,
case of monetized product, like it is actually solving a problem, because you, as a product manager, you have the ammunition and you can get carried away in building fancy things, making things look really pretty, building in some bells and whistles. But is it truly important? Is it truly required? So doing that, understanding, and one of the key things I think I have slowly learning is getting everything organized and being very objective, removing your own subjectivity. That is, if you've put up a feature, you've defined a feature, you've done it based on your understanding and the research that you've done, what kind of product you want to build, and what the customer is telling you.
okay,
However, you need to be objective enough that when an engineer says, when someone else says something else, you need to hear out and look at that aspect too. Because
okay.
if both do not work in unison, your product will not scale. It will not do well.
So be
SWB audio
objective, be
capture,
organized, and
not
have an impact,
registered.
solve a problem.
Empower others. Empower others.
Cool. Uh, to build up a good profile, should we focus more on doing internships or work on publishing more research papers?
It will totally depend on the kind of role you're looking at. If you're going to go for a research related role, if you're planning to apply for PhDs, papers are the way to go.
Hmm.
If you're looking to directly get into a industry as such and start working on solving business problems and be involved in that, relevant industry experience is very crucial.
Okay, I hope Advait that answers. Did you publish papers though during your bachelor's at all, or?
Bachelor's, I had published one paper with a couple of my colleagues, and as part of my masters, I had done a thesis.
Okay, so probably served as a good research experience for you.
That's it was a 1 year of worth of research where I had taken carried forward something that my seniors had done. They couldn't solve it in an efficient way, so I had taken up that problem where I was working with Dr. Chang at the Hershey Hospital in Pennsylvania. And to quickly just touch base, what I was doing is they were trying to identify tissue identification from a CT scan image, and
Okay,
they were doing research on zebrafish. Very interesting that zebrafish is more similar to humans after rats. And since research on rats is very cumbersome and zebrafish are easier to breed, and that's why people do research on zebrafish. So I had to create an computer vision image processing system, unsupervised system, where given an image, I could identify a notochord tissue or the spinal tissue of the zebrafish.
okay. I think I used to ask you a lot of questions around what you
SWB
were
audio
working
capture,
on because
not
image
registered.
processing and this image mining thing was super interesting for me. It used to just definitely bring out the curiosity in me.
Yeah.
So Souvik asked, how much easy does it become in getting placements after MS in electrical if you have work experience of 1.5 to 2 years in electronics domain? I don't know if you want to answer.
It totally depends, honestly, is on how you are channeling your interview. One of the things I would do is I would try and get back the interview back into my comfort zone, is relate any question to a project that I've done,
So,
apply that question into a project that I have done. So then I could work within my realm and answer. Of course, having experience helps, because people prefer people who have experience, who have relevant industry. Again, relevant is crucial. You may have experience in something else and you're applying for a job in something else.
Connect your experience with what the role is actually
Yes.
requiring somehow. Uh, so that was one. Rutvik is audio. So how often, as a data scientist, one deals with big data?
Quite often, because once you want to become a really good data scientist, between my stint as a data scientist and when after software, I joined another firm called Proficient. It's a US based consulting firm. So there I wore a dual hat. I worked as a data scientist as well as a big data engineer,
Hmm.
where one of the small things is I worked on Spark and we processed a terabyte of file of records coming together, and then we built a market basket analysis on top of it because we are working with a retail client. So working scaling with big data and understanding the nuances of big data are very crucial because it will help you to build scalable pipelines from a data science perspective.
So
SWB
And it
audio
will also
capture,
help you
not
to tell your
registered.
engineers when you're working with them, when they're processing and ingesting the data, in what format would you require eventually when you have to solve your problem.
okay, but you would say like shortly that this is definitely something that you will get exposed to quite often as a data
Absolutely.
scientist. All right. So you touched upon some of them: Python, R, SQL. Anything else you think is useful for from a tools perspective to learn?
There are so many new tools, there are so many new deep learning libraries and everything, MOOCs that are out there. I personally believe is as much as you learn is less. So you should keep learning, keep yourself up to date because every day there's new technology coming, there's better technology coming in. So keep yourself up to date. And one of the things I think we had decided to touch is for my transition into product management, I'd done a product management certificate from product school.
Yeah. So for someone who was asking, I think it was Mangesh who was asking about the PM thing. Harshil actually completed product school certification to
Yes.
transition into this domain, I
To
believe.
help me transition and truly understand how I can do my job better. What had really helped me in that certification was to connect how to channel my thought process, come out, stop being an engineer. Because when you're an engineer trying to solve the problem,
Hmm.
you're trying to solve the feature in a functional way. When you're a product manager, you need to look at the business side of things. It not think at a functional level, but a level higher than that.
Okay. And Rutvik is basically saying TensorFlow and Scikit are also things that you should add to learning when it comes to the tools. I think,
Yep.
yeah, there are many means, I believe. It could be any sort of library, any sort of algorithm, but I think to get it going, what Harshal is trying to say is complete some
SWB
projects,
audio
actually
capture,
apply all this
not
knowledge
registered.
practically into something which will help you just understand how things work.
And I wouldn't I cannot stress enough that using libraries, there are tons of libraries that people build. But if you truly want to get into this field and do be well, implement the algorithms from scratch at least once.
Okay.
Because once you do that, you really know how an algorithm works. Because when you're coming as a data scientist and you're going to apply all of this in industry, you're not going to sit and apply any algorithm. You're going to use one of these scalable libraries. But because you applied the algorithm earlier, you know it in and out, you know what to tweak, you know what to change, you know how can you make it more tailored to your problem.
Okay. And that'll probably improve with all the performance metrics that you're looking for, even the
Yeah.
accuracy. Uh, so there's a banter going on with between Meet, Priyan, and now Rahul Kakodkar has also joined in. And this is a question I do not know if Rahul actually wanted to ask this, but he's still asking. Uh, is Julia better or Python or R for purpose of data analytics?
I prefer Python.
Okay, Rahul, probably you got the answer there. There's a lot of suggestions by Meet. He wants to have a showdown between civil, electrical, and industrial from Penn State. And Priyan is actually not supportive of it. Priyan is saying that industrial engineering is a dead field. Graduates are becoming YouTubers. Priyan will chat about it on WhatsApp. All right. Any last words of wisdom?
Uh, I think work hard.
SWB audio
Try to
capture,
learn.
not
Try
registered.
whatever you do is not enough. Try to learn as much as possible. And if something breaks, don't worry. It will get fixed. Something will happen. Many a times I've seen people, and I've faced initially, is there's a big demo coming in, something stops working. It's it's law. It's Murphy's law. If there's a demo, something will break. We had a podcast today. There were technical difficulties, so don't panic. Things will work out. You just need to keep calm and just believe in what you're doing.
Perfect. All right. If there are no more questions, anything else you would like to add, Harshil slash Meet?
Uh, Nothing. Thanks for the opportunity, Abhinav. I
Uh,
think finally, after so many back and forths and deciding this Sunday, no, this Sunday, then
you're
trying
a
to
busy
get.
personality. I could not help it, right? I've been trying to get you on and on the channel for a very, very long time.
I really apologize because I'm part of a startup right now and things are moving in a very fast rate. So that's crazy. One thing that I would like to tell anyone is if you're planning to be part of a startup, remember that giving 200% is table stakes, is at minimum what you can give. If you're not willing to do that, startup maybe isn't the right choice. You will get tired, you will get frustrated, and it will not help the business as well.
Has it been helpful for you as a person to work for a startup and go through this
Oh,
fast-paced
yes.
environment?
I really love the fast paced environment, and working for a startup is all in because it's all the time trying to see innovative ways and the best ways where you can help achieve, solve that business problem and how you can grow faster.
Okay, this is the last question, but
SWB
this
audio
is
capture, not
Meet's question,
registered.
so I cannot skip it.
Okay.
And this is a funny one, so let's end the podcast. We talked about a lot of serious stuff, so let's end it on a funny note. Harshil sir, how do you keep up with early morning college classes and make sure you reach on time? You can just feel free to skip answering this, or you can take it up with him on WhatsApp.
So for the audience, Meet, Priya, and Rahul, all of those are my Penn State roommates, and I am not a morning person. So thanks to having a TA, I could afford to cab it every day in the morning, 8 a.m. from my apartment complex to my lab. That to 15 minutes late, which is not good. You should be punctual.
Meet, if you're not happy with this answer, please reach out to Harshil on WhatsApp, call him, whatever. But thank you so much, Rahul, Meet, and Priyan, for joining this and increasing the number of concurrent viewers we got on this stream.
Yeah. There were certain words that were being spoken when I would wake up, when Priyan would wake me up to go for it, but those are beyond the code of conduct of
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah,
and
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah. This is a
blogs.
family-friendly channel, so let's skip that part. But thank you so much, Harshal, for joining. This was really informative, and I'm pretty sure folks will hopefully reach out to you if they need any help. I'll leave Harshal's LinkedIn in the description box below. And if you have any questions, you can either comment on the video itself once it is published after the stream ends, or you can always reach out to Harshil. I'm hoping that's fine, Harshil, if people reach out
Absolutely.
for any sort of help that you want. And then just, yeah, share the video, share this podcast with as many people as possible. It'd be a great thing to spread this knowledge. Harshil had
SWB
a
audio
lot of
capture,
really good
not
insights
registered.
from his journey and how he dealt with this entire transition from electrical engineering to data science to product management now. He's a senior product management currently, soon to probably become uh, like the CEO of some company. And if you want to just learn about working at startups, working with algorithms, starting as a data scientist, transitioning into product management, the product management certification that he pursued from product school, which is something that Harshil and I have also talked about. Please, please, please reach out to Harshil, or just comment here and then take it on. But thank you so much for joining, whoever joined and also asked questions in the chat, and also suggested some really creative ideas about uh, putting up a fight between industrial, electrical, and civil. I'm pretty sure civil folks will win, but we will still. I'll take up the offer. But
Civil folks aren't civil at all.
thank you so much, Harshil, for joining and sharing all that you could. Hopefully, we will get a chance to talk again.
Absolutely. Thank
We,
you so much, everyone. Thanks, Abhinav.
if not on the stream, otherwise also. But this was really, really good. I really enjoyed the conversation. There were a lot of learnings for me as well. Perfect. I will wait for the concurrent viewers to drop before I actually sign off. But this is officially the end of Let's Talk Electrical Engineering, Data Science, and Product Management with Mr. Harshil Shah. Now I said Mr.
Ooh,
Harshil Shah.
finally, we can do it. We finished it.
I'll just wait for a second.